battle fought in the stars now comes to Earth.
Police! Nobody move! I think I'm gonna need some backup.
A battle for the power
Kneel before your master!
to be masters of the universe. Dolph Lundgren is He-Man. Frank Langella is Skeletor.
Let this be our final battle!
Masters of the Universe, rated PG.
Now playing at a theater near you.
Recently, Masters of the Universe has reached its biggest resurgence since probably the 80s. For toy collectors, it's largely thanks to Mattel's awesome Origins line.
He-Man? He's your friend?
Friend and ally. He's just kind of weird sometimes.
Oh.
And to the average Joe, the new Kevin Smith produced animated Netflix series, Masters of the Universe Revelation. I don't plan to do a video on Revelation just yet, maybe when the first season is completely finished with, but just so you guys know where I stand on the show, I'm very mixed on it at the moment. For me, its most glaring issue is that it tends to feel a bit too edgy at times. It's a show that seems to teeter on the line between being pretty clever at times, and at other times what I'd describe as bad fanfiction. But I do feel that it's hardly deserving of the amount of hate it's been getting. I can at least appreciate how it's taken the series in an interesting new direction, even if I don't love everything about it. And I really want to wait until after season 1 is completely finished before I form any strong opinions on it. Now that I've lost half my viewers, it's time to put all of that conflict aside to talk about a piece of He-Man media that doesn't suck. I'm lying, this movie is doo-doo garbage. Also, I've got to learn to be more careful when talking about this stuff, because I know a lot of people are pretty nostalgic for this movie. The 1987 live-action Masters of the Universe movie is a film that solely exists to bank off the success of the popular toy line and cartoon. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, just look at Transformers the movie. That movie is fantastic.
Till all are one! Till all are one!
Unfortunately, the Masters of the Universe movie wasn't so lucky. I think when it comes to talking about most movies, a good place to start is with the director. Oh. Anyway, if there's one company that I'm willing to bet could produce a quality film based on the colorful and creative world of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, it's not canon. But as you probably suspect, that's exactly what we got. In their defense, the effects of laser blasts were pretty enticing. So Masters of the Universe starts off with some Superman-style opening credits, and I will admit the music here, composed by Bill Conti, is probably the best aspect of this film. It really convinces you you're in for something fun and adventurous. A lot of that magic kind of slips away as soon as you're introduced to this film's version of Eternia. The production design itself is actually pretty good. I really like how Eternia and its residents look for the most part. It's got more of a post-apocalyptic feel to it, which I think is fitting seeing as Skeletor has pretty much already taken over much of Eternia by the beginning of this movie. But even though I do enjoy many of the design choices used here, it's still not without its flaws. For one, some beloved characters from the cartoon don't look so hot here. Take Beastman for example, who, yikes. Maybe they should have just gone with an orange gorilla suit. And then there's Man-at-Arms and Teela, who are just looking kinda dour. Man-at-Arms is missing his more colorful armor, and Teela looks absolutely nothing like her cartoon counterpart. While on the topic of bizarre changes from the cartoon and toy line, I think one of the most striking differences here is that Prince Adam simply does not exist in this iteration. But to be fair, Prince Adam does not exist for the first few issues of the mini-comics either. It wasn't until Michael Halperin wrote a series bible that the character and his transformation into He-Man was introduced into the series. He-Man is played by Dolph Lundgren here, who, well, at least he looks the part. Okay, so he's not great and seriously lacking in any personality, but I do like He-Man's costume design for the most part. I think the red cape looks badass, and it's surprising that it didn't carry over into any future iterations of the character. However, the decision to give him tight undies over the traditional fur loincloth was a choice, to say the least. Yeah, this movie really lives up to the whole He-Man is gay discussions. No questions asked, clear as day. But what about the villains of this movie, the Lords of Destruction? Well, you'll be disappointed to find out that most of He-Man's villains don't make an appearance here. Most of the focus is actually on Evil Lyn and Skeletor, which I'm pretty okay with. I think Meg Foster is a pretty great Evil Lyn, and Frank Langella as Skeletor just steals the show here. He seems to be having so much fun just hamming it up.
Find them! Trace them! I want them and that key hunted down and brought to me!
It's even more wholesome after finding out that he ecstatically accepted the role of Skeletor because his son was a big He-Man fan. This movie is also pretty lacking when it comes to the Masters of the Universe as well. There's really only like 3 here. And Gwildor.
I am Gwildor of Thenor, locksmith and inventor.
For some reason, instead of Orko, we got Gwildor in this movie, who kind of acts as a comedic relief in the same way, only he's not Orko and never will be. I don't even know why I compared the two. He has more in common with the lady in the radiator from Eraserhead. But I guess I've gotten ahead of myself and not really discussed the plot of the movie, which is, well, you ever watch the Smurfs movie?
Walk this way, just give me a kiss.
So in this movie, Skeletor has captured the sorceress and seized Castle Grayskull. He-Man and his friends rebel against Skeletor and his army until they come across Gwildor, a dwarf-like being who reveals his invention, the Cosmic Key, a device that will allow its users to travel the universe via portals. After a failed attempt to rescue the sorceress, the Masters of the Universe escape using the device and are then teleported to Earth.
By the sorceress, it's ugly.
It seems harmless.
What a hideous cry.
There on Earth, we are introduced to the couple of Kevin and Julie. Julie is going through a rough patch in her life, seeing as her parents were both killed in a plane crash. And Kevin likes music.
What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna amp this baby up, see how it sounds.
After stumbling upon the Cosmic Key, Kevin realizes that it makes 80s trailer sounds and rushes it to his friend's music shop to potentially sell it.
Now press that red button in the front. Go ahead.
Julie has a run-in with some of Skeletor's henchmen who travel to Earth using Skeletor's own version of the Cosmic Key. He-Man and his friends rescue Julie from the deadly foes, and from then on, it's up to Julie and her newfound intergalactic friends to retrieve the Cosmic Key and return them back to their planet to save Eternia. The old cartoon character comes to Earth gimmick is such a strange idea, especially since it's been carried over through so many decades. I think the most recent example of it was the Sonic movie. It's just strange to me because the world of Eternia is already so exciting, and I think the world that kids would much rather see in live action. But I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that having the movie take place on Earth was probably drastically cheaper. You'd think like most movies that pull this gimmick, they'd really play up the whole fish out of water idea, but it's hardly touched upon here. There's like one moment earlier where they're eating chicken and Teela acts horrified when she realizes that it's meat.
You mean this used to be an animal? Mm-hmm. What a barbaric world.
But like, Duncan knows it's meat, but the others don't? What do they eat on Eternia? I never got the impression that all Eternians were vegetarians. There's also He-Man and friends driving around in a pink convertible, which, hey, I'm not judging, you do you, He-Man. I also don't know the reason behind why most of Skeletor's henchmen here are completely new characters. I'm gonna assume it was mostly for toy sales, but how disappointing it must have been for fans for their favorite characters to just be nowhere in sight. The movie kinda has a Super Mario Bros. Movie vibe where everything just feels off. You probably could have given this movie a different title and changed a few names around, and you'd barely notice it was a He-Man film. Although I think the director was actually less concerned about what fans wanted and more about what he wanted to make, which that in itself is commendable enough. Doesn't defend the allegations though. According to an interview, he was very inspired by Jack Kirby comics such as New Gods, Thor, and Fantastic Four, and he actually wanted Jack Kirby to be a concept artist on the film, which, how cool would that have been? A He-Man movie designed by Jack Kirby. He also said he wanted to add a dedication to Jack Kirby in the end credits, but the studio wouldn't let him because, let's face it, studios suck. One aspect of the movie that tends to weird out a lot of people is that He-Man uses a gun. This I can easily defend because A, He-Man actually did use a gun once in the mini-comics, in an issue titled The Clash of Arms. And B, in a world where the villains have laser guns, why would you ever choose a sword over a gun? This movie is also pretty anti-cop for an 80s movie. This is very much a fuck the police kind of film. James Tolkan plays a detective character here named Lubick, who is suspicious of Kevin and does nothing but make matters worse throughout the film. He's just the absolute worst.
Give me the gun, kid. Come on, give me the gun.
Look, don't you get it, Lubick, huh? All right, this is for real. She meant what she said.
I said, give me the gun!
All you people are calling out He-Man for being too woke now, while you dismiss the fact that He-Man was always woke. Okay, so maybe the cop does get to stay in Eternia and lives happily ever after at the end, but that's besides the point.
So you're really gonna stay here, huh?
What, are you kidding? What am I gonna go back there for? And look what I got here. I got a castle. I got a view, I got clean air, I got a beautiful woman.
I can at least appreciate the campy nature of this movie. It turns it from being a complete pile of trash into something that's at least watchable.
Anyway, it sounded like you needed a woman's touch out here. Woman at arms.
For better or for worse, the movie never slows down. It's very in your face with all that it has to offer. I especially liked seeing Skeletor in his big floaty throne when he travels to Earth. Definitely a highlight of the film. By the end of the movie, He-Man's friends travel back to Eternia to rescue him after his capture. Skeletor absorbs the powers of the universe, but He-Man manages to defeat him by knocking him into a pit, Emperor Palpatine style, and thus the planet is saved. But you've probably found yourself asking, what about Julie's dead parents? How are they going to resolve that problem? Well, rather than dealing with any sort of touchy subjects of loss or grief, Wildor manages to send Julie and Kevin back to the exact morning before her parents left on their plane trip, which raises a lot of questions. I mean, wouldn't they be stuck in like some sort of time loop after that? Whatever. Time travel doesn't have to make any sense. That's the fun of it.
Mom, Dad, please. Don't get on that plane today. I have a terrible feeling.
Julie, put those keys back.
I love you. Julie, where are you going? Come back here.
Also, here's how this scene would actually play out. Mom, Dad, don't get on that plane. Now you listen here, Julie. We're your parents and we're getting on that plane.
Oh, shit!
Also, there is a sequel tease at the end. This film was truly ahead of its time. Masters of the Universe was a box office bomb at its time of release, but now it's more fondly remembered by He-Man fans that grew up with it. This adaptation that doesn't seem to care the slightest about what it's adapting has, by some miracle, managed to gain a fan following, and I think that's great. It's not what I'd call a good movie, but it's a silly little camp fest that I'm glad wasn't just completely swept under the rug. So this one goes out to all of you 1987 Masters of the Universe movie fans. Don't let my harsh words stop you from enjoying a movie that you may genuinely love. Until next time, thank you everyone for watching, and goodbye.